that it? The records clerk? Something, okay, yep. So when I knew Wendy was when she started in the DA's office as a legal assistant in 2004. I was a baby prosecutor back then, and Wendy came over, and so I got to know Wendy working with her in the DA's office. Then she left the DA's office and went to work as a judicial assistant for Judge Tatro and Judge Willis. And so when I got appointed in 2011, I've been working with Wendy ever since. So Wendy's been great employee. It's kind of an interesting gig being the JA you got to babysit judges, which makes sure we know where we're supposed to be and that we get there and that we don't forget things. And that's hard to do because we tend to do that. We tend to forget things and not get where we're supposed to be sometimes. She interfaces with the public. There's lots of answers the public has to get from us that they don't like to hear. And it's not appropriate for the judges to be giving those messages directly sometimes. And Wendy's got that job, and she handles that with just grace and diplomacy and, empathy. And so it's not just a service to us, it's a great service to the community, to the people who have to hear those messages. Sometimes it's good news, sometimes it's not. Staff, she kind of is a buffer between staff and the judges, and that takes diplomacy and empathy and, all of that. And on top of all that, Wendy's my friend, and I'm going to miss her. And so, 30 years. She's got better things to do than babysit me now, but I appreciate all of it, Wendy. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I don't get the 30 more year yes? Yeah. I'm guessing I'm not even getting months? Oh. Can you be convinced? Oh. Thank you again for your service. It's much appreciated. Okay, next up we have Jim Estes, our water production foreman. Get through that crowd. Okay. You're not quite up there with Wendy, but so I get to ask, right? Because this is 20 years. Are we going to get some more years out of you?
No.
This is not turning out to be a good day. Something's just not working. But I'm giving you a certificate. It's still not working. Thank you for all that you've done to keep us with good water.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. What have you done that he won't get us
We've tried to keep Jim around. Jim Estes has been here 20 years. He works in water production. Many of you wouldn't recognize him or know him because he's in the background. But let me tell you, this guy is controlling things and making sure that Carson City has adequate water, safe water. And in the middle of July, when everything is turned on, that's the guy that's sweating to make sure that water is coming out for everybody. So he's done a great job. About 18 months ago, he stepped up to our foreman position, which is the highest level operator position that we have in our water division, and has just done a great job since. Unfortunately, he's announced his retirement at the end of this month, and we're really going to miss Jimmy. But thank you so much for all the time you've put in and helped keep us safe in terms of our drinking water. Congratulations.
Okay. Oh, now we have a deputy sheriff. How about Derek Kepler? 15 years, right? And Camper?
Yep.
Where's Camper? So how long has Camper been?
About 3.5.
3.5. And how long is the usual longevity for Camper and your dogs?
Could be like
7 to 10 years?
Very good as far as, yeah, he's super good. I was excited about everything.
Well, I'll tell you what, 15 years, and I know what a great job you do for this community, and we really, really appreciate it. And he's going to tell us even how more special you are. I'm putting you on the spot.
No, absolutely. So Derek has been with us for 15 years, and what I learned this morning is just due to circumstances, he never got his 5 or 10 year. So this 15-year mark is actually a very, yeah. So, yeah. So Derek has been with the sheriff's office for 15 years. He's been with detention, patrol, motors, SROs, and now with the K9 with Camper. He fills in a really neat position here because Camper is not only a K9 and does narcotic smells, including marijuana. Because he is assigned yeah, I saw the front row get a little nervous, but yeah. But Camper's only to the schools, so you stay away from the schools, you should be just fine. Also, Camper is one of the ones that has the relationships with the schools, and if you've ever been to the schools, Camper interacts with not only the families but the children, and that also goes to Deputy Kepler and his family, including his wife who's here today, and how he interacts with the community, and we really, really like not only what he's done for the last 15 years, but what he's going to be doing in the future. So thank you, sir.
So, while I'm thinking about it, is your dog going to be in the competition this Saturday at Fuji Park? We have our K9 competition. I love starting that off every year, and this year I'll have a special surprise for you guys for the K9 unit, so super excited. Money, hard, cold money. We got some great community members that want to, I don't know what else we can do for the K9 unit, but super excited. They really, if you've never come out and really seen the dogs work, it's incredible to see that. So that's Saturday at Fuji Park at 9 a.m. There you go. So come out and do that.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Oh, yeah, you're stuck. Because you have to be in the picture. Since we forgot your certificates, you at least have to be in the 15-year picture, right? Okay, how about Mahala? And he goes, I cannot believe that. 5 years? I remember when you came. That's hard to believe. Thank you so much for all you do for us as a civil. Great job. And
Not too comfortable next to the dog, but and Sue, I'll keep it short so you can get to pickleball, whatever the hell that is. So let me start with the coolest thing about Mahala. She runs marathons. How many have you run?
12, I believe.
Okay, I lost count, and you've done Boston. A couple of times in Boston. And Mahala.
The ringer at a K9 unit when we had the contest.
That's right. That's right.
Found out she can run.
So Mahala will run at lunchtime, and sometimes she'll get somebody to run with her, but I've noticed nobody runs with Mahala on back-to-back days. Because when they get back, they look like they've been 15 rounds with Mike Tyson, and Mahala looks like she took a 5-minute walk. But she's just, we stole her. I'm not ashamed to say it. We stole her from the Nevada Public Defender's Office 5 years ago, and in part because we were sick and tired of going against her in court. So we wanted to bring her over on our side. She has done just a number of things for us. Her biggest talent is in the courtroom. She just has a gift. She's always prepared 100% of the time, and that's easier said than done. But she has a real gift for seeing the different perspectives of all the people who are involved in any particular matter, and that is that's a great gift to have, but in particular in the courtroom. So she's done a lot for us there. We really appreciate the 5 years and hope we can have a lot more with you, Mahala. Thank you.
It's our little courtroom. So how many more at least?
13 probably.
We got it on the record. I love that. Oh, thank goodness. Everybody else is one day or the end of the month. I was like, something's going wrong here. So we're all done. That person's not here. Okay, well, if family, friends, coworkers, it's really about a celebration of their service to this community. And so we'd love for you to join us if you would like to. It's all about that. Come on in. That's right. Come on in. We love the big group photos and hey, come on in. Come on in. It'll be time for Christmas tree lighting and
Andy, can you take everyone around the back?
Hi. right on.
Farther down.
Okay, we're going to get started and come back to agenda item 7B. Yep. And this is where we celebrate the employee of the quarter. And the beauty of this one, it's management looking around to celebrate good works above and beyond that the employees do, and we love to reward them with that, and it's super exciting this time. Our proclamation is for Alana Mills, our human resources generalist, has won the employee of the quarter. Actually, not won. How about we say earned? She's earned it. I like that word better. So whereas every day Carson City employees put to use their broad array of skills and expertise with efficiency and integrity for the benefit of everyone in our city. Whereas Carson City values its employees and acknowledges that recognizing employees for their hard work and dedication is critical to the future health and growth of our city. And we owe a substantial debt of gratitude to Carson City employees and applaud those who go above and beyond in their loyalty and ability. Whereas Alana Mills, who has shown exceptional dedication and service to the HR department and is committed to the employees of Carson City, thereby contributing to the fulfillment of the city's mission, values, and vision. Now, therefore, I, Lori Bagwell, Mayor of Carson City, celebrate the dedicated accomplishments of Alana Mills in serving the community and do hereby proclaim Alana Mills to be Employee of the Quarter. And I can attest, I could have written it all myself too. I think everyone here has had nothing but wonderful experience with Alana. So thank you so much. And while it's employee and it's not longevity, 20 more years?
Oh, yes, for sure.
I got one. I needed it today. So thank you. And Jeff, with this one actually comes Yeah, right? Hard, cold cash.
No, I actually had someone else do it.
Yeah. Shh.
I thought it would be weird.
Yeah. So congratulations. And then do you have any family or friends? Come on. Does anyone want to come and join? Come on up here. It's again, I think of everyone as family. So come on up and share this moment with your mom. I see more candy in our future. Everyone that knows Alana. Halloween coming up. I know. This is good. Okay, we're going to now move to agenda item 7C, which is some presentations and recognition for some of our local businesses that helped us during the Davis fire. And so I've got our emergency manager here, John, and Chief Slayman. Are you going to do this together? And let's celebrate now. We had all our great employees. How about a few great businesses that really stepped up to the plate?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. This is extremely important when it comes to emergency management because we can't do this on our own. We rely on our businesses in the community to help support us. And in this case, it wasn't even our disaster. So it happened in another county, but we had local businesses that stepped up, supported us when we opened the large animal shelter at Fuji Park. So as we stated, we don't have the resources and capabilities to do this. So several businesses stepped up. 2 of them were able to come today in person so we can recognize them, but multiple helped out. So Home Depot down at the south end of town donated a lot of supplies for feeding and watering the animals. Lowe's donated a lot of hydration products to the workers and the animals. Our Tractor Supply, which we'll recognize, and Coit, who both made it here today. But Starbucks, we had a night shift. And if you've ever had to stay up all night for multiple nights in a row, coffee's important. So they stepped up and donated a lot of coffee to our workers. And then what goes in must come out. So Quick Spaces was a huge resource and donated the porta potties out there at the facility for not only our volunteers, the city workers, but also the ranch hands that came out and supported with their own animals. So all those businesses were a huge help. But we also had some other partners that came out. So the Animal Services from Nevada Humane Society, amazing in supporting that operation. We had the Department of Agriculture came out and donated a lot of feed directly from the state. And then our CERT team, the Community Emergency Response Team, stepped up with volunteers the entire operation. So I want to make sure everybody of that group is recognized, but then also our partners that were able to come today from the business industry, the private sector, extremely thankful. So Hannah Marquis from Tractor Supply. So certificate of appreciation.
Thank you.
But our challenge coin. So thank you very much for everything you did.
Thank
So.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No running
You can't
away.
escape.
No running away. What? Oh man.
He's gonna get you right now.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
And then Coit. Go ahead and stand up, guys. Really want to recognize these guys. Both of these parties donated without us even asking. They reached out and asked if we needed something and came out and volunteered supplies to us. So thank you guys as well. So Brandon Talton, Vashni Fixel, and Jalen Gayfield. And what's the little one's name?
Asna.
And Asnit's here to all welcome the appreciation that you guys deserve for coming out and supporting us. Thank you all.
Restoration. So water flow.
You know what? I don't mind if you guys even want to, because I had to ask, so maybe there's some others in the room. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your business? I think that's only fair, right?
So we're a cleaning and restoration company. We just opened up an office down in Carson City that these two run themselves, starting to branch out more in Carson City area. We also have an office in Reno. So yeah, we do cleaning and restoration. So on the restoration side, any water damage, mold, fire, smoke, and then anything cleaning. If you want us to clean it, we will clean anything from the sidewalk to anything you ask us to. So yeah.
Thank you for doing this without even being asked. It's pretty special, right? So thank you. Thank you. And then Chief, what else we got going on? What else we got going on today?
So today, if you don't know, is Great Shakeout, 1017 on 1017. So today's the day. In about an hour and 7-8 minutes here, we're going to have the opportunity to practice to duck, cover, and hold on. So whether you're here or you're somewhere else, it's your opportunity to prepare for earthquakes and have that opportunity to do just that, duck, cover, and hold on wherever you're at. So 1017 today.
In a boot. Oh, yeah, that was true. So thank you all again very much, and we'll move back to our. Oh, yeah, if they want to, if Tractor Supply wants to say a few words, I don't have any issue with that. Maybe you can tell me why Pet Sense is on your shirt, and it's a Tractor Supply.
Yes.
Chickens?
Oh. Thank you. Thank you. PetSense is one of our businesses that we acquired in the past few years. It's kind of like a pet-orientated business. We don't have a lot of them out on the West Coast, but they're kind of spread across the United States. So Tractor Supply and PetSense. We're actually just down the street here, for those of you that don't know. We're just down there on the right-hand side behind the new tire shop. We kind of have a little bit of everything. We're a livestock hardware store, and we're always happy to help out our community in need at any time. So we would love for you guys to come stop by, bring your animals, and a warm, welcoming smile. We'll be able to get you taken care of. So thank you guys very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for stepping up to help the community. Thank you. Okay, I think that's, we'll come back up to you're welcome. That's a happy baby. Yeah, we need more of that. Okay, we're going to bring it back up here then for the agenda. We're now on our consent agenda. Did any member want an item pulled? Nobody? And I'll take a motion, please.
I move to approve our consent agenda consisting of item 8A, 8B, 9A, 10A, 11A, 11B, and 12A, all as presented.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Thank you. We're now going to go on to agenda item 14A, which is the adoption of bill number 105, the ordinance. Oh, wait a second. I need a title reading, right? Ms. Warren, can you read the title, please?
Ordinance number 2024-5, Bill number 105, an ordinance relating to Carson City Airport rules and regulations, revising airport rules and regulations to allow imposition of fees for secured airport access, and establishing liability insurance requirements for aircraft, revising various provisions relating to through-the-fence operations, and providing other matters properly related thereto.
Thank you. So let's talk about, I don't believe, other than some insurance discussion, that there were any other comments received. Anybody? No one else had any comments either on that. Do you want to talk a little bit on the insurance as to whether you feel the regulations should stand, or whether or not the insurance portion should be struck and done at a later date?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and members of the board. Steve Takis, Airport Counsel for the Carson City Airport Authority. We still believe that we should have insurance. People operating aircraft on the airport need to be insured. It's a little disturbing to hear people come up, particularly a retired litigation attorney who's arguing against having insurance. That's a little bothersome to me. However, the language that we have proposed in the ordinance gives us the flexibility to adjust the amount of insurance to the actual situation. So for example, in Mr. Greedy's comments, which he had filed either yesterday or I got him last night, he talks about a situation where an airplane is not flyable, it's in a hangar. If you roll it out of the hangar to clean the hangar, is that going to trigger an insurance requirement? My own 2 cents is we probably wouldn't trigger an insurance requirement for that. You know, if it's in a hangar, it's covered by hangar owner's insurance, which all of the leases that we have with the people that own the hangars or that operate the hangar projects have, and that includes liability insurance. So as long as it's still on the leasehold for the hangar, which presumably would be if it rolled out of the door of the hangar, it would still be insured. The language that we included in this ordinance says in an amount as determined by the authority. And that was important language for us to include because when we adopted this, we looked at a lot of other airports who require insurance. It's very commonplace. And they had differing amounts. And so we are still trying to figure out, okay, what is the right amount? And some of the airports actually have different amounts depending on the risk that they see from certain airplanes. A larger airplane probably presents a greater liability risk than an ultralight, which only carries one person. And so we've got that language in here. And so certainly if we had something where we're splitting hairs and saying, hey, I'm rolling it out of the hangar to clean the hangar, but I'm not flying it, I'm not moving onto the taxiways or the operation areas of the airport, my inclination is we would determine that that doesn't trigger the insurance requirement. Now, I say that because that's what my opinion is. My instructions and advice to the airport authority is hear what the person has to say, get all the other facts. And that's going to be important because we have other regulations that are in Title 19 that say you can't store an inoperable airplane indefinitely in a hangar. The hangars are for airplanes that fly. And so we would want to know what are the facts surrounding this? Why is this inoperable? And what's a reasonable amount of time for this person to get it operable? And so we have the language in the ordinance to address that. And I don't think there is any reason not to go forward. You know, in fact, I'm urging you to go forward with adoption of the regulation. I would also add, just from a practical standpoint, pretty much every pilot I know at the airport who owns an aircraft has their aircraft insured. In fact, I don't know any personally that don't. And when we looked at this requirement at the airport authority, the chairman and a few other members on the board who own and operate aircraft called their insurance agents and found out it's a very easy thing to add an additional insured, and it doesn't cost anything. So we're not imposing a burden on people. What we're doing is just trying to protect the airport from lawsuits. And the comment by Mr. Kramer that it creates us as a target, hey, too late. That ship has sailed. Years ago, we had somebody who sued the airport claiming our runway was too short because they landed short of the runway. Really? It's too short? You're going to sue us because you looked at it, you had a chart, you were supposed to be trained to look at all this stuff, and now you decide it's too short, you tried to land at it anyway. Ultimately, they withdrew their lawsuit, I think when they got to their third lawyer who told them, you really don't have a lawsuit here, it's time to withdraw. But we've been a target, we'll continue to be a target. Adding the airport authority as an additional insured isn't going to change that. Mr. Kramer also made a comment about discrimination, that because we're requiring it for resident aircraft based at the airport and not for transient aircraft, it's somehow discriminatory. As the airport manager testified at the last hearing on this, airports across the country are requiring insurance, and I'm very familiar with the FAA discrimination rules, and I have never heard of the FAA saying that's a discriminatory practice. And so I think that that is a concept someone's throwing out there, but it's not backed up by any reality. But those are my responses to the comments. I don't see that as a reason, the comments as a reason not to go forward. I think protecting the airport and the citizens of Carson City is more important than people's claims about discrimination.
Thank you. Does any member have a question? No. Supervisor Schutte.
I do. Thank you very much. And can you build a little bit on, you mentioned determining possible triggers, what would trigger a requirement versus what might not?
Yeah, there's, it would probably turn on whether we felt that there was a risk that we were being exposed to. And candidly, whether an airplane is inoperable sitting in a hangar and is covered now by the hangar owner's policy, or it's rolled out in front of the hangar, doesn't really change that risk. So that would be one way to look at it. We don't know what other scenarios people will present to us. I'm sure the same thing happens at the city. You adopt a rule, and then you have people present scenarios that nobody thought of. And then you try and figure out, okay, what's the logical and reasonable way to deal with it? And we have language in here that allows us to do that. You know, if you're asking for other scenarios, we couldn't think of any when we adopted this, at least those of us who were working on this language. But I'm sure some will come up. I mean, this was the first we heard about this idea of rolling an inoperable aircraft out of a hangar. Usually inoperable means it ain't moving any place, but who knows? Yeah, thank you.
So just to clarify for those that might be listening or that had public comment, so I'm reading the exact language is, right, as determined by the airport authority, the insurance shall be in a minimum amount of coverage as determined by the authority. Mm-hmm. So the authority, when they're reviewing and looking at the different types of issues for insurance, could set that at zero.
Yes.
If they, I just wanted to put it on the record that it gives, as I have this reading, if there was an odd issue out there that you say, well, that we have no risk, then you would set it at no insurance if there's no risk. I mean, the objective is to mitigate risk. Okay, and so your interpretation is the same as mine, that you could set it at zero.
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to get that on the record, that we all read it the same way, what we're doing. Okay. Do I have any further public comment on this? Mr. French? Sorry. Sorry. I'll call you in a second, Mr. Creedy.
Denny French, thank you, Mayor. Carson City. I had a question about the through the fence. I know that you're talking security, and I've only worked 5.5 years in securities, and they were nothing to do with an airport. I would not want the responsibility. However, my consideration on that is a better explanation of just what that meant. Even though I read it over, it didn't clarify the concerns that I have about through the fence access, and that's considering that perhaps privately owned homes might have access to a way to get to the area for takeoffs and such on the landing fields or the prep areas. And I just would like more clarification. I appreciate it. And as far as the fees, that seemed in what they were writing confusing to me, and I think I can understand why people are concerned that those fees may get outrageous. And just public access. It's great when they have those open houses and they have events, and I love getting out there and seeing what's going on, but this would help to have some clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Creedy.
Thank you. We're getting down to quibbling, but I think it's important. I've tried researching insurance requirements at adjacent fields here in northern Nevada, which is not easy. Most of the searches are on documents available online. Minden Tahoe rules and regulations, the terms, insurance, and policy result in, well, is a null result. Reno Tahoe is all tied through the T-hanger lease agreements. At Stead, it appears to be only to commercial hangars. Silver Springs is null. Sent an email, no response. Yarrington, nothing, and email, no response. Tahoe Truckee, it's all in hangar lease agreements. South Lake Tahoe, it's all in hangar lease agreements, and I have a question mark. With respect to the NRS under the headings airport, aircraft, perhaps under municipal airports, the terms insurance and liability are a null result. We have a qualitative difference between associating liability for services offered to the public versus a arguably reference to an aircraft or a specific individual, and that's my quibble. It makes sense to, when you're offering to the public, to have an insurance requirement. It makes no sense to an individual, and we use the term aircraft rather loosely. Well, my personal insurance does list my aircraft. It's going to be, and I borrow your aircraft, my personal liability is still going to be covered. Philosophically, I really do object to using the power of government to ask an individual to hold harmless that government. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Then I'll bring the item back up here for a decision or any further discussion. Supervisor Horton, a motion.
I move to adopt on second reading Bill number 105, ordinance number 2024-5.
Do we have a second? I'll second. Are you the second? Second by Supervisor White. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you. We're now going to move on to agenda item 14B. This is discussion and possible action regarding the appointment of 3 members of the Carson City Building Code Board of Appeals. 1 member has to be a structural civil engineer. And so these terms would be January 1, 2025, expiring on January 1, 2027. 1 member is a general building contract for a partial term expiring January 1, 2026. And 1 member is a registered architect for a partial term expiring January 1, 2026. And those are split terms to stagger the board, correct? So that we don't have everybody starting and stopping at the same exact time.
That's correct. The terms are actually set by the Carson City Municipal Code, and so the ending dates and starting dates of the terms correlate to the terms set by ordinance.
Perfect. So I think we're going to do something a little bit different than what we normally do, since all 3 of you are eligible to be appointed, and this particular board has specific requirements, and therefore it's just a little bit different. So as Ms. Sullivan, as a top-level summary, what is the activity that the board is expected to achieve?
Thank you, Mayor. Hope Sullivan, Community Development Director. I usually talk to you about planning. Today I'm talking about the building division. So Title 15 addresses the building codes that are adopted. It's not the building code itself. And within Title 15, it talks about a Board of Appeals. And that is if somebody needs to appeal the decision of the building official, this is the group that they would appeal to. It's a 5-member group, and as the mayor stated, it specifies what discipline or background they need to have or certification. Since 2014, when Charles Abbott came on board, we have not had a Board of Appeals. The terms had all expired. And one of the downsides of not having a Board of Appeals is as we pursue code enforcement, we don't have the ability to give people their due process because they do have a right to appeal the decision of the building official. So the appointment of 3, and I need to find 2 more people, but the appointment of 3 will create a majority for the Board of Appeals and will give us an opportunity to pursue code enforcement in particular, but also give all builders the opportunity to appeal decisions of the building official. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you so much. So Supervisor Giomi got his hand up there first, go.
Yeah, thank you. Hope the other 2, I think, are mechanical and electrical engineers. Is that correct? If I'm remembering my code days.
That is correct.
Refresh my memory, do they need to live in Carson? Because
No,
I
they
think you
do
might
not
struggle
need,
to find
they
a
do not
mechanical
need
and
to
electrical
live in
engineer.
Carson. And in fact, the board that existed in 2014 had members, particularly the electrical engineer that resided in Reno.
Okay. And I know you don't run the fire department, but what are we going to do relative to are we going to do, I mean, you know.
In 2014, in the way this board is described, the board is the Board of Appeals for both the building code and the fire code. That's how the city has described this board. Whether or not the fire marshal chooses to use this board will be his decision.
Well, it actually should
But
be
we're
our,
not
should be our decision, not his
Okay,
decision.
but we're not changing the description of the Board of Appeals. It's as it has always been in Carson
That was
City.
my recollection when we did the code amendment, when I was still at the fire department, is we did 1 board instead of having 2 boards. Just didn't make sense to have 2 boards.
Too hard to recruit.
Right. Well, it's hard enough to recruit people to sit on this board. So I appreciate all 3 of you doing that. But when we do, regional amendments, I would encourage you to work with the fire marshal to bring that so that there is just 1 board, and maybe it can be adjusted slightly so that there is some representation for fire, whether it's adding an FPE or something like that. Maybe it's not your thing, but maybe I'll direct that to Nancy. Yeah, okay, that all I had. Thank you.
So let me just ask in general, and you can each then answer it. One of the things on appeal is, you have a winner and a loser. There's just no doubt about that, right? Hopefully, we feel at the end of an appeal, everybody's a winner because they had due process and another opportunity for people to look at it. But you all work in this community. You all have that. Tell me what you utilize to help make a decision. We'll just start with Bill and work our way down.
Okay,
Just let it once go green and let go, you're good.
there we go. So going back many years, Darren and I were both on the Board of Appeals for over 10 years, starting, I believe, with Larry McPhail originally recruited us. Not certain, Phil Harrington was a great building official, but I can tell you in all those years, the city did such a good job resolving any issues that we never had to have an actual meeting. So I think, I compliment the city and the city officials through all this because I know personally there's always issues with fire and building and people not understanding codes and why the codes are there. I attribute it all to federal government mandates that have trickled down to us, but that's a whole other subject. So at any rate, you just have to be fair. You have to look at the facts. You have to look at the rules and regulations. You have to look at people's property rights. I would say you have to take a lot into consideration depending on the situation at the time. Most of
the issues that I've seen that were controversial revolved around life safety issues. So if codes are adopted and the city has to apply those codes, I believe they have to stand by the life safety issues of the codes that they adopt.
Thank you.
All right, so as the engineer so far on the panel, I tend to default to logic, maybe sometimes more than I want to, but, like Bill said, just knowing the facts, an appreciation for the rules, but also understanding that sometimes the devil's in the details in the interpretation and the particular circumstance. So that's, where I usually come from in terms of making decisions. I try to lead with curiosity when there's conflict especially, and see where everyone is coming from and their reasoning. I come from a consulting background, but I like to think that I maintain a pretty good relationship with public entities because we're members of the community and we have to keep doing work here and would be doing work with, people that might be bringing appeals to the board.
Darren,
Good morning.
schoolmate? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh boy, old
Yeah,
home.
this is fun. Can you repeat the question?
Just really interested in your approach to an appeal when I think Rachel said it well, right? Where you've got the city that you might need projects approved from, and then you also have people in the community that you work with. So how do you approach the
Yeah.
appeal itself?
So, yeah, I encounter this on a daily basis in my job. I look at the code and say, why the heck are we doing that? What does this mean? How did we arrive at this? And there's layers and layers of that stuff. And if I have a question, I'll call the building official and talk to him and have the code explained or have him point out. And because the code, believe it or not, is not a real black and white document. You read that thing, and I've read it front to back, upside down, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense. So my approach is, talk to the authorities having jurisdiction. I've talked to the fire marshal. I've reached out and just see where they're coming from, because I exist in what's known as the IBC, the International Building Code, but the fire department exists over in the NFPA. There's supposed to be overlap, but there mostly is, but sometimes there isn't. I guess my point is there's gray areas. But we all have common sense and understand life safety and how buildings go together. So I confer, again, with the governing agency. I also confer with my client because they're the ones who have to pay the bill on, a fire sprinkler system, for example. And then I also talk to contractors in the field that do this stuff for a living, and I talk to my engineers, and I try to come to a thoughtful opinion on what that code's telling us, and we all get on with our lives. We accept what we have to do. And generally, there's a consensus among us folks that do this for a living. Sometimes the client is reluctant to come along, but, that's what they hire us for. And so, that's my process. Just gather the group together and get the information from lots of different facets.
Okay. Does anyone else have any question of anybody? Nope. All right. Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
Sure.
Supervisor Giomi.
I first of all thank the three of these, because this is time away from what they do for real and their living, and so.
And there's no pay.
And there's no pay. But I know all of them are dedicated community members, and we appreciate your willingness to give back, so thank you all. I move to appoint Rachel Kreider to the structural civil engineer position for the term beginning January 1, 2025 and expiring January 1, 2027. I move to appoint Bill Miles to the general building contractor position for partial term expiring on January 1, 2026. And I move to appoint Darren Berger to the architect position for partial term expiring January 1, 2026.
I second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of the membership. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it's unanimous. And let's hope for the next 10 years. No, you only have a one-year term, but I'm going with Bill that we don't get any appeals. But thank you again for your willingness. Thank you. Okay, we're now on to agenda item 15A, discussion and possible action regarding authorization to submit a grant application to the Recreational Trails Program administered through the Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. This is the Division of State Parks for $99,928, including a 20% local match of $24,982 for a total project of $124,910 for our Ambrose Carson River Outdoor Classroom and Trailhead project, and to allow the Director of Carson City Parks and Rec and Open Space to accept the grant and sign all the related documents if we are awarded. Mr. Berggren, can you give us a highlight of what we're trying to attempt to get a grant for?
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor. So since the passage of the Quality of Life Initiative in 1996, Carson City has acquired about 5,000 acres of contiguous parcels along the Carson River. And these parcels protect our floodplain, reduce flood hazard, protect our wildlife habitat, preserve our viewscape, and provide innumerable recreational opportunities. And I think we've done, since we've acquired these properties, we've been kind of systematically either creating new infrastructure or updating existing infrastructure in the Carson River area to create, in the form of trails and trailheads and fencing and different things to provide durable access for recreation and create a safe and comfortable environment and provide better natural resource protection. And I think, we've seen successes like, for example, East Silver Saddle Ranch, the area between Sierra Vista Lane and the river. Since we've done some work in there, we've really seen the reduction of some of the undesirable activities that used to take place there, and we're seeing a lot more, community-based recreation in those areas. So with this project, it really kind of continues in that vein of providing better infrastructure along the river corridor by improving a trailhead and resurrecting the concept of an outdoor classroom. In 2012, an educational kiosk, an interpretive sign, and a trail were built by Carson High School biology class for the purpose of providing an outdoor learning environment, and that was all destroyed by floods in the past. And so what we're proposing now, let's see. Okay, where is my, Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so what we're proposing is new facilities for the Ambrose area, which would include a vault toilet, shade structure, 18 by 18, 2 ADA parking spaces, an ADA foundation connecting all of the amenities, a short accessible pathway with 3 interpretive panels, and then a kiosk for changeable content for educational programs. And this Ambrose is really a good location for these facilities because it was originally intended for this purpose. And if you kind of you see doesn't really show well here, but the entrance, it's a loop entrance from 2 different places on Deer Run Road, and it was designed to provide access for school buses. And there's also very easy access to the river here. So it really is a good location for an outdoor classroom. And let's see, let me go on to my last piece here. Okay, so with this proposal, we would be upgrading amenities, for example, from the existing portable toilet to a more permanent vault toilet, and facilities that kind of look more like our Fifth Street Trailhead, but with a bigger shade structure. And the Fifth Street Trailhead was a previous Recreational Trails Program grant that was actually received a national award for community connectivity. So anyway, with this project, we have received so far 11 letters of support. Among those, Carson City School Superintendent Andrew Fueling, 3 school teachers, Sheriff Kenny Furlong, River Wranglers, Visit Carson City, Muscle Powered, the Nature Conservancy, and then just yesterday we received a letter of support unsolicited from our local office of the Bureau of Land Management. So anyway, with that, I will take any questions that the board may have.
Does any member have a question? If we receive the grant, how long would it take to implement?
So with the Recreational Trails Program grants, they're a lot quicker than some of the other grants that we work with. So we would probably be able to start working on this project this coming summer.
That's wonderful. Okay. No other questions? Okay, I don't have any other questions up here. Is there any public comment? Mr. French?
Danny French, thank you, Mayor. My concern with any trailhead situation is not that they're having them. I think they're a necessity, and I think I appreciate them. My issue is whether or not, if there's any chance that these are going to have environmental impact studies, and if not, why. The development, as it is suggested, is quite a bit of rearranging and such, and I do feel that environmental impact is important. I understand apparently that, or my understanding of the rule is that if it doesn't have federal money, you don't have to do things. I would like us not to do it because we have to, but because it's I think, the proper thing. And so I think keeping with the spirit of preserve and protect, those type of lookouts should be considered. And I'm sorry I missed the first part of the presentation. I had concern with a matter, and Hope was available. So thank you very much for considering my suggestion on this. I would like to also say that the Kuntz area development, I believe, while you're here, should be perhaps better signed. You have to get all the way up into almost the trailhead gate area to know that the area is closed. And it would be nice to have it at the bottom of the hill, because that's a bit of a trek just to get up to where you're allowed. And so having a sign down below that that's closed would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back up here for motion. Any further discussion? Supervisor Schutte.
I move to authorize submission of the grant application as presented and to authorize the director to accept the grant and sign all necessary documents if awarded.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
And get it. Now that you've presented it, don't get our hopes up. Get it. A little bit of pressure there. Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number 16, which is our non-action items. Ms. Paulson, any updates?
Yes, I actually have a few things because there are a lot of great events that are coming up in Carson City. And I'll get closer. October 18th, which is tomorrow already. They're having a trunk or treat at the Children's Museum. And then on Saturday, the 19th, they're doing the Carson City Ghost Walk. Also on the 19th, that is the first day of early voting here at the Community Center. On October 24th, there will be having Bonanza, which is a huge event at Mills Park. And October 26th, we all know the Nevada Day Parade. Also with community development, Hope is continuing her master plan, listening tour, and every Saturday in November at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. at the library, every Saturday except the last one, Hope will be doing the listening tour. And I just want to thank Hope because she has gone above and beyond to ensure that Carson City's residents have had a voice in this process, spending many of her Saturdays engaging with the residents regarding the update on the master plan. So kudos to Hope for doing all that. And November 7th, our next meeting will be the second reading of Title 18. And then we'll also be bringing, in the ARPA funding, we allocated a $2.5 million to pavement preservation projects. And that design is 100% complete. And those projects will be going out to bid here in late October, early November, and then coming to the board for award to get those projects going. One last thing is they're doing a fall color wagon ride at Silver Saddle Ranch on October 27th and November 3rd. So I just thought there were a lot of cool events going on in Carson.
It's that time of year. Supervisor Giomi.
I want to make a notes of the fall color ride so I can
Take your granddaughter.
take my granddaughter. Yeah.
I knew that was
Okay. So bear with me. I have notes from the CTA meeting. A lot of interesting stuff happening, and so I wanted to share it with you. We do a visitor profile every year, and so that visitor profile is out. It's on the visitcarsoncity.biz website, visitcarsoncity.biz as opposed to .org. The .biz website is kind of for the business and research-minded, but it talks about where our domestic visitors come from, the communities, the top 5 communities. Interestingly enough, Phoenix has now popped into the top 5. So Sacramento, LA, Reno, San Francisco, Oakland, and Phoenix, top 5 visitors, domestic visitors. And road trip is added as a new reason for coming to Carson. So that's kind of interesting reading if you're interested in looking at that. CTA and the region, as you know, has been working on a cultural corridor program. The group, the CTA, was awarded $630,000 to promote that program through about this time in 2026. And it is to promote the cultural and arts corridor from Minden, well, basically Douglas County through Story County. There's a huge plan which is on the CTA website with steps and tasks and goals and branding and websites and things like that. But basically, really trying to tie this whole corridor together between Minden, Gardnerville, Carson, and Story County. So a lot of work has gone into that, and a lot of work will continue to go into that. But that's exciting. Sense of Place is done, as you may or may not have seen. It's going through the normal rusting process. Sometime this month, the concrete should be installed in the roundabout, and then the install of this, although a date isn't set yet, should be sometime in November. Powwow is coming up the weekend of the, I have 25th, and it's Nevada Day weekend, as always, but it's at the MAC for those of you who want to participate in that. You heard about the Canine Challenge coming up. The high school club sport mountain bike race happened on the 22nd of September. There were about almost 2,000 people in town for that, from as far away as Ely and Mammoth Bishop. And ridership was up about 50 people, almost 350 riders in that high school event. Bonanza Kennel Club had 600 participants in town the last weekend of September, and almost half of those people came from more than 50 miles away. And of those half, 17% came from more than 300 miles away. The farthest participant came from central Canada. And finally, I handed you all this murals and music item. 24 muralists worked on 21 new murals, 2 international artists, 6 of them from out of state, 13 local artists. The grant money, some money from CTA, I think $10,000 from CTA, the remainder from private donations and citizens everywhere from $100 to $15,000. So we spent about $60,000 to get the musicians here. The artists and the musicians here. And the declared value of the public art is just under $300,000. And this music and mural item will be updated, but if you open the middle of it, you'll see we now have 59 pieces of art And this, for those that have a description, describe where they are and the history about each piece. So it's, I think it's pretty exciting. And the Builder's Lines, which is what I mentioned, has a great picture of Kit Carson, the Carson River, the Morgan Silver Dollar, and the Monkey Flower. And I just bring that up because that particular artist, if I'm not mistaken, was from out of the area, but it shows that they do their research about what is in this area and how they tie it back to the community. So it's, take an afternoon, grab this flyer or check it out on the CTA website and see if you can locate some of the public art. It's a great program. So thanks for indulging me, but it was a lot. We had a lot going on.
Do you think that the murals will be more road trips that I heard you say people
Yeah, I
are
think,
coming to Carson City
yeah,
for
I
road
think
trips?
that's one of the
Will it
things that
link?
that sort of generates that road trip, whether it be a day trip that they come and look at the murals and maybe grab lunch, or they decide to do an overnight. But I think the idea of the cultural corridor is to try and get people to spend some more time down here as opposed to at the lake or in Reno. I mean, obviously, we're not going to be the draw that Lake Tahoe is, right? But the goal is addressing those markets that are our top markets, and a lot of them easily drivable to here, and to sort of say, hey, there is stuff you can do here, culturally speaking, with art and with the history, and expand on that so that we get maybe a day out of their 3 or 4 day trip.
Well, and that really can help the small businesses.
Well, yeah,
right, to
yeah.
have somebody have lunch or dinner, refreshments, and to
And the
try
other
and
thing
do
that sort of helps is that we're increasing the number of hotel rooms we have. We're adding a new hotel, and our hotel rates are generally more competitive than both Tahoe and Reno, and our room tax rate is percent points, 1 to 2% below those. So that helps, get room nights here. Instead of staying maybe in South Reno, maybe you stay in North Carson, and you can still hit all those same things. So
Great.
anyway.
Supervisor Schutte, do you have some stuff to share?
I do, thank you. And just to build on what was just said, during the Murals and Music weekend, I had several friends come into town solely for the purpose of enjoying the weekend, and we cruised around on mountain bikes and met quite a few of the artists, and enjoyed the music, went out to restaurants, and it really was a wonderful weekend. I wanted to thank Aaron and the Parks and Rec and Open Space Department, and actually the whole team. They last weekend had a wonderful celebration for volunteers, and who have helped with different parks, different trails, just, whether all the above, weed pulling, all the above. And it was a really nice weekend or Saturday celebration. And that kudos. And it's important to acknowledge our volunteers and our nonprofits and how this community comes together to solve the problems, meet the needs, that kind of thing. Adding to the long list of things that are going on, this weekend at the Railroad Museum is the Harvest Train. And then also at Fish, Pets of the Homeless and Cassie and Fish, we're teaming up for a wellness clinic and to help those people with their pets who, with vaccinations, spay, neuter, that kind of thing. So again, a wonderful collaboration. And then also, the CCSO canine competition. It is really interesting, and it is quite amazing in terms of what those dogs can do and the level of training. So just to build on what everyone is saying.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we are going to move to our, we will, just for the record, so everyone knows, we will have closed session upon adjournment. We're now going to move to agenda item 17, which is final public comment, and I had Elena Sullivan that had signed up to do this. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Elena Sullivan. I am not a city resident. I live in the Virginia City Highlands, just outside of Virginia City. I am the treasurer for a nonprofit wild horse advocate group, the Virginia Range Wildlife Protection Association. That is also in the Virginia City Highlands. I also volunteer to deliver birth control for wild horses. So I spend a lot of time in Washoe Valley, Carson, and Mound House. So I do care about what happens in your community and neighborhood. So I would like to start by thanking the city on behalf of a lot of the local horse organizations for fencing the landfill. Our organization began with installing 3,500 feet of fencing and a 16-foot gate, and the city continued by fencing the entire landfill. And we are so grateful that you did that, because now we no longer have wild horses getting injured, and they were also dying from eating the food that was in the landfill. So I thanked Mark Irwin for working with us, and I'd like to thank the city because I know that you guys supported the effort. I'd also like to add that we have a local organization called Wild Horse Connection. They have a telephone number 24/7 that you can call for any wild horse-related issues. If they're on the street, if one looks injured, if one doesn't look healthy, it's a 24/7 number, and it's manned by personnel who will come out, who are trained to deal with horse issues. Most of the time, they can deal with whatever is out on the street. So the number is 775-352-3944. So I thank you for your time, and I thank you for the support.
Thanks, Elena. I don't have, you're up here, so Mr. French.
Thank you, Mayor Denny French. I'd like to say I was disappointed in that fact that 8B was not taken from the consensus line, because I wanted to make sure that people got to know that they lost a member of the, didn't lose him, but a member of the Planning Commission, Lloyd, Ms. Lloyd, will not be, yes, she will not be coming back, and there'll be a replacement considered. I just want to say that I will miss her contribution to that committee and commission, and I wish her the best, and I hope she will stay engaged with the community activities, because she contributes a great deal of background. I also was a little disappointed, but I got a chance to talk to Andy Hummel about the screw pump, and he was able to tell me about the warranties and the facts that rehabilitation means that they're going to be worked on. They're past their warranties, but there's things, still life in them. So they're not replacing all of them, but they're rehabbing them. And I thought that was a funny way of saying basic maintenance. But the deal is that they are going to be buying another one, and it's going to be in the same line and the same brand as the first one. And they've worked well, and so that's a good thought. I just wanted to also say that I really would appreciate, because I go to so many different meetings and I'm terrible at names. I've started to compile pictures and names for myself of each organization or each committee and such, and it would be great if the city were to encourage such for everybody, like ball players' cards or something, but in a way that you could just flip through them and you could say, okay, this committee's like this, and have pictures. And a lot of you are shy on that, but you look great in the last couple ones that I've seen. So don't be so shy and help us, because I am personally struggling keeping names and faces all the time, and it's just getting worse. So it would be appreciated, but I am going to continue working on this when I have time between this and this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I have any other final public comment? No? Okay, seeing that, then, I was trying to make 10:17 to drag out, crawl underneath our desks, but so we are not going to make that, but please try to exercise that wherever you are in the next 18 minutes to be prepared for earthquake awareness.
Did you want me to talk longer?
No. I might have to open it up to everybody else. So thank you all for a good meeting, and we are adjourned. And we'll just take 5 minutes to let the